Hi, impromptu listeners. This is Hadley Robinson, one of the audio producers at Washington Post Opinions. Today, we're bringing you two different stories that have generated a lot of conversation lately. The first one comes from contributing columnist Rick Reilly, and it's about how vacation rentals aren't what they used to be. Here it is.
I'm Rick Reilly, and this is my column about Airbnbs. Okay, I'm writing to you from a home rental in France where we had to rent our sheets and towels. No joke, 15 euros a day. When we leave, we have to bring them back, folded. And then it hit me. Were we given the last renters dirty linens? We rented an Airbnb in Lisbon a couple years ago. It was on the 5th floor of an apartment building, and it promised 180-degree views of the city below. But when we arrived late that night, there were no views of the city. There were only views of scaffolding out of every window. Disappointed, we threw our bags down and sat on the bed. It collapsed. The next morning, my sleepy wife got out of the shower only to find a workman staring at her, leaning against the scaffolding, smoking a cigarette. Maybe the 180-degree views were for the workman? The past few years, online rentals like Airbnbs, VRBOs, and others have been going downhill like a hippo on a water slide. When they started, it was kind of wonderful to be able to book somebody's house or apartment. I mean, they cared about it. They left you gifts and flowers and long notes about the best little restaurants in the neighborhood and coffee shops. Now, I can't remember when we were actually in somebody's home. It's always somebody's side hustle now. They own 10 of them and they live 6 hours away and they don't give a dead rodent about you. The decor is always early target. You got a complaint, send an email and we'll get back to you maybe by Thanksgiving. And while they're penny pinching on what you get, they're dollar grubbing on what you got to pay. You need a second job to pay for the maid service alone. Lately, they've stopped leaving soap. We're paying for Wi-Fi right now, 20 euros a day. We stayed in a place in Rome once that gave us 2 towels for 2 weeks. No hand towels, no face towels, no bath towels, just 2 in-between towels that looked like they'd been washed in the first aqueduct. We just left a rental in Florence, Italy. There was a washer, but no dryer. So my wife asked where it was, and the lady who was letting us in sneered. No, she insisted, pointing at the windows. You just to use the breeze. Okay, my wife said. So we use a clothesline or a drying rack or something? No, she spat. You just have to use the chairs. I noticed there were no steak knives, but I wasn't about to ask her. No, you just have to use your teeth. Just look at the ratings first, you tell me. Nope. Like everything else, ratings for home rentals are unreliable. This winter, we booked a place in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, with good reviews and no windows. It did have a Romeo and Juliet balcony that was so close to the neighbor's wall, Juliet would have chipped a tooth looking for Romeo. But our experiences are nothing compared with some people's. There was the woman who rented a house, opened the kitchen drawer, and found hundreds of bugs crawling all over the silverware. When she complained, the manager wrote back, "It's Florida, there's always bugs." Put that on the Florida license plates. Florida, there's always bugs. In May, we decided to stop fighting all this and buy our own apartment in Florence, a city we really love. So we did, and now we've started looking into renting it out the 9 months we aren't going to be there. Turns out the owner's side of the equation may be even worse. People might rent a place for a few days and make meth. There was an actual example of that. Grifters using fake IDs for the rental might steal more stuff than the Grinch. We know a couple who rented their house in Denver to a young-looking guy and his friend who wanted to, quote, study for finals, unquote, and instead held the prom after party there. Welcome, class of 2025. In Seattle, a guest called the owners and said he'd locked himself out. They told him where to find the hidden spare key. He called back, couldn't find it. It was raining and he sounded desperate. They told him again, still nothing. After 20 minutes, worried, they called him and he was inside. Oh, did he find the key? Nope. He found a rock and threw it through the plate glass patio door. Turns out he'd been looking in the wrong place. Then there was the guy who rented to somebody who made a porno in his apartment. The owner said he didn't find out until he was looking at a not suitable for work subreddit. I noticed my living room and kitchen, it said. Hey, at least the bed didn't break.
That was contributing columnist Rick Reilly. Right after the break, we've got another story for you. It's about why it can be so difficult to find a place to sit these days. Don't go away. Welcome back. We've got one more story for you today that's really got readers talking. Here it is.
I'm Mark Lasswell, Deputy Opinions Editor at The Washington Post, and here's why America is increasingly standing room only. The Trump administration is taking over management of Washington's Union Station. This is good news. Now, at last, maybe someone will figure out who stole all the benches. These days, you stroll into the station's gorgeous 219-foot wide, 120-foot deep Beaux-Arts main hall with its 96-foot high barrel-vaulted ceiling agleam with 23-karat gold leaf in octagonal coffers. And, after gaping at the splendor, think, okay, now where can I park my butt? For benches, there are none. The marble floor, an expanse of more than half an acre, would offer the most magnificent setting in the history of broomball. Or perhaps a parade ground where bored National Guard members could kill time by marching in formation, unimpeded by travelers grateful to have a nice place to sit. You can almost make out the ghosts of the 24 long, lovely mahogany double-sided benches that graced the main hall after its 1908 opening. Nowadays, you can't even find the less numerous sit there if you must platforms that were scattered in the hall after a thorough renovation was completed in 2016. It isn't hard to guess why. The humble bench fast disappearing from public places once was an emblem of civic comedy, a reassuring sign that even the chilliest bureaucratic heart knows people sometimes just need to rest their weary bones. Now, well, too many of those people might be homeless, or are experiencing homelessness, or are unhoused, or are experiencing unhousedness. Whatever the latest term is, don't give them a place to sit. Or if you must provide a bench, stick a metal divider in it so the undomiciled can't lie down. Discouraging the homeless, who are already plenty discouraged by life, is everywhere. If a building's ledge might be treated like a bench, add a diabolical serrated metal strip where someone's rear end would perch. Bus stop shelters? Better install those miserable leaning bars, which send the message that yes, the people in charge know you might be tired or just had knee surgery and are desperate to sit down, but we all need to make sacrifices for the common good of keeping the homeless moving along to somebody else's neighborhood. Those who advocate for the homeless call these and other such measures hostile architecture. And they're right. It is hostile to everybody. When the officious mind is confronted with a problem, the reflexive response is too often, all must suffer. A renegade virus endangers mainly the ill and the elderly. Close the elementary schools. Maybe the kids' hamsters can teach them to read. An idiot wannabe terrorist tries to turn his shoes into explosives. Force countless millions of travelers to spend nearly 20 years ignominiously removing their shoes at U.S. airport security checkpoints. When it comes to stripping public places of benches, chairs, and anything else that might let people take a load off, the problem being addressed is a self-inflicted one. After all, as JAMA, the American Medical Association's journal, reported last year, quote, 2/3 of unhoused people have mental health disorders. And America decided more than half a century ago that the greatest kindness to the mentally disturbed would be to shut down psychiatric hospitals, some of which were terrible, to send patients to the streets where the drug trade thrives, make it legally difficult to compel them into treatment, and then hope for the best. Hostile architecture, or defensive architecture as the bench removers prefer when they acknowledge their tactics at all, is an abject admission by those responsible for public places that they've simply given up, surrendered. The homeless always will be with us, so let's configure the world to keep them out of nice places. Some Americans of the housed variety have rebelled. When Silver City, New Mexico removed several sidewalk benches last year after business owners complained about you-know-who using them, a group of artists built new ones and donated them to businesses willing to accept them. The artists called this the benchening, and so far it seems to have worked. In Hoboken, New Jersey last month, dozens of residents staged a sit-in on beach chairs after the city removed several benches. Again, business owners had complained about their use by H people. One woman held up a sign, "Wenches for benches." Across the Hudson River, a few beach chairs would come in handy at Penn Station's Moynihan Train Hall, still sparkling, still largely bereft of places to sit since its spectacular opening in 2021. As at DC's Union Station, Amtrak provides a small, secure area for ticketed passengers only. It looks like a showroom of seating to consider if you were building a colossal train station. Imagine the great Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a scholarly senator who thought deeply about the role of public architecture and had a keen appreciation for the follies of the bureaucratic mind, visiting the train hall he envisioned but didn't live to see completed. He quizzes an aide about why a major transportation hub has no benches, glimpses the travelers slumped on the floor with their bags looking decidedly homeless, and bursts out laughing. In 1956, New Yorker writer E.B. White went with his wife early one morning to a Brooklyn pier. There they greeted a military transport carrying their son, who had been stationed in Germany, and the son's wife and two toddlers. As E.B. White's granddaughter, Martha White, relates in the foreword of New York Sketches, a collection of his work, quote, "My grandfather remembered, I got so excited by the moving scene and the earliness of the day that I had to be led away to a stable bench by my stable wife." He was a master at finding the exact words for those small but unforgettable moments. True enough, but today he'd be lucky to find a bench, stable or otherwise.
Thanks to Rick Reilly and Mark Lasswell for reading their stories for us today. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for this special episode from Washington Post Opinions. Talk to you next time.